Panovich and Tony Montefiore will be joining us today. First and foremost, I'd like to say, Michael, your last day here as a co-op student. I know you're continuing on with our shows, but thank you so much for doing what you've done, and hopefully you've learned something from me. So
Yeah, Jay, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's the best co-op I ever could have had. It's just so unique and it fits perfectly with what I want to go into.
and a little bit, we're talking on the Run North Sports Show, but talk a little bit about what you want to go into and like say what you've done here is going into what you're going to do.
So I'm looking to go into journalism and sports broadcasting at Centennial, which has one of the best programs in the country. Being here, you guys showed me a lot of the websites to use. You allowed me access to interviews and a lot of the technology that you guys use to conduct your business. So getting access to all that and seeing how it's used was really helpful for sure.
And something, would you come back to the North if you could after you're done?
Yeah, I would. I mean, if you guys have grown to the point where you're a big enough business for me to get a full-time job, absolutely, I'd come back and work for you guys.
And one thing is, again, in the industry, if it wasn't Sault Ste. Marie, what would be your dream job?
What do you mean by that?
When it comes to after graduating, what would you really, if you had a choice, if it wasn't coming back to the Sault Ste. Marie, what would you want to do?
I mean, I'd want to stay in Toronto and get a job, one of the big media agencies down there, like the Score, Sportsnet, or TSN, as a reporter or a writer.
So, and you sat with Tom, like I say, Ruminski from the Score. Now, would that be a dream job for you?
Working with the Score, working with Tom, and people who were with Tom, that would be great. I mean, that'd be awesome. The Score is one of the biggest sports media agencies in Canada, so to get a job as a writer for them, especially as a baseball writer, that'd be amazing for sure.
And that's something where I said to somebody the other day, my kids are older and growing. My advantage of SiouxSports.com, I get to do sports every day.
Yeah.
So some days, yes, it feels like a job. Other days, it's sports, and I think for you, it's the same, isn't it?
Yeah.
No kids yet, but I was saying that's where
Yeah.
it would be. So
before we actually dive into the show, this is the show you truly deserve. We're here to bring the most energetic, listener-focused show that you have heard. By combining our energy with the community of sports talk fanatics. This is the sports radio show made by friends for friends. Bringing electricity to the lineup across the country, this is hosts Bono and Hap.
and something you mentioned, graduating tomorrow.
Grad mass.
Oh, grad
Not the
mass.
actual
So,
graduation. No.
graduating this week, I guess you say, when you're finishing school this year.
Yeah.
Any nerves being finished high school?
Little bit, yeah. If I was staying here in the Soo, I wouldn't be as nervous. But having to move to Toronto, it's a big transition. The people down there, they're a lot more hot tempered, so you have to get used to it down there.
And we're going to talk local sports, but one of the local sports, you played for the U18 Black Sox.
Yeah.
Then you're going to Centennial, and like I say, you're hoping to make the roster down there with
Yes.
Centennial.
Yes.
What's it going to be like to come back and play on your old field if you end up playing the Sioux College Cougars?
Man, if I make Centennial, I am so excited to come back here and play. I would, without a doubt, be the first person from the Sioux to play against the Sioux. To play against some of the players on my team right now and the coaches, it would be an honor to come back and to beat them. You know what? I've practiced on these fields and I've played on these fields for years. So to come back as the visiting team, that would just be crazy, be surreal.
And one thing we've talked about with the co-op is in the end, say one of your friends, Cole Massey.
Yes.
So what would it be like to look across? Again, you're looking at the visitors' dugout to your old dugout. I'm looking at Cole. What would that be like?
That would be that would be something, and it's more than just Cole. I mean, he's right now the only one that's committed, but we have a lot of other Black Sox players that are trying out. So assuming they all make it, there could be up to 6 or 7 kids that are on my team right now that I would be playing against, and to see them in the other dugout and having to go out there, especially with the umpires that I know now, I would just be on the field in front of 8 to 10 people that I've been close with for years. So and playing against them, boy, it'd be awkward, but it'd be really fun.
And one more thing, we'll talk about OCAA basketball, baseball, sorry, and get into other things. But your dad's an umpire.
Yes.
Would your dad step away if Centennial comes in town, or would he still be behind the plate?
Well, he's just a base umpire. He doesn't do the plates.
Okay.
You know what? And I think at a high level situation like that, double A baseball, he wouldn't up a game. He'd be fine in the stands watching his son play.
Watching his young son just
Yeah.
play
I gotta
baseball.
make the team first though, so let's not get too
And okay, last question. You make the team. Are you telling all your team Mike LaBelle's secrets?
no. I can't do that. You know what? I can't give the signs away. Obviously it would kind of screw through college because
You've been with
like
Mike for years.
well, yeah, I mean, I've had him for years, and so just to be cautious, of course, they might have to change some of their stuff. But overall, I'm not that type of kid. Like, I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna play for Centennial. I'm not gonna try to hijack through college's, plan to win. Like, I can't really do that. That's not up to me. It's by how we play, and I don't want to be like the Astros and the Red Sox cheating out there. I just want to play it fair and take a win the fair way.
Understandable. We're going to talk SaberCats and Steelers, but when Tony Bonifero joins us, we'll talk more about that because he called those games and that. So we'll get into the Sioux Thunderbirds a little bit. Sioux Thunderbirds have been quite busy this past week.
For sure.
One, two, sorry, I'm counting as I go. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 new players coming to the roster for the Sioux Thunderbirds. And then on the other side, we have Alex Remenda, Sam Lake, and Colton Beret coming back. So it's something that it's going to be huge for the Thunderbirds. And Michael, one question again. I know you're a baseball guy, but talking just sports, when you bring new players into existing roster, is that hard to the new kids? I call them kids, new players to join and to come into the roster.
I absolutely would assume so. I mean, if I was going to Centennial and joining a bunch of new guys that I didn't know, as a socially awkward person already, yeah, it would be pretty weird, especially with the guys being older, bigger, and stronger. You're going out there and you're competing with these guys for playing time. So yeah, you know what? I'm sure it's uncomfortable when you first get there, and it's going to be a bit weird for the young guys. But you know what? They got to remember these guys have they've played AAA. They're definitely good enough to be playing for the Thunderbirds, and they're there for a reason. So you know what? If they develop a bit and they keep working hard and they don't really get in their own head, they can be at the same level as the guys like the older guys in the team.
Now going back, you make Centennial. How are you going to be able to go into the roster with those veterans?
Man, I don't know. There's a lot that I'm gonna have to see about like if I get put as a pitcher and an outfielder, I'm gonna have to kind of transition with the guys in the outfield, get tips from them. I know that there's outfielders that have committed that have a lengthy, they could have gone to pro ball. So getting tips from them would obviously be a good start, and just kind of trying to connect right off the bat. I think is the best thing to do.
And last thing about Black Sox, what's it going to take for you to make Centennial?
There is so much that's going to go into it. Um, I have to pitch well this year, and I have to bring my batting average up. You know what? I just have to improve my Black Sox play right now. Outside of that, there's people that I'm working with to help make Centennial. So the more that I'm with them and the more that I take their advice and apply it, the easier it's going to be to make it. But there's going to be between 60 and 80 kids trying out. I'm guessing, and only the 25 make it. So it's going to take a lot of hard work and determination to make the team.
And for the Black Sox coming up this weekend, you said you're on the road. What's happening?
Yeah, so we have our first tournament this weekend in Gladwin. Our schedule's a little bit unclear. Uh, it says we play Mount Pleasant twice, but I think we only play them once. So assuming we play Mount Pleasant, Gladwin, maybe Rosebush, those are the three teams that played last year in the tournament. We went 0-3, but two of the games were pretty close. So you know what? Hopefully that uh, I think our team's a bit better this year, and I certainly think that we can take at least one win in Glavin this weekend, and I hope that we can because it's our first tournament. So we want to go out, put it on a good showing, and kind of show the young kids on our team that we're capable of winning games against American Legion teams.
And my question was, this isn't the varsity programs in Michigan. This is actually the Legion programs,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And can you talk a little bit about what's the difference between the varsity and Legion? Is there a
Okay,
difference there?
so varsity it takes the best kids from, or sorry, the kids who try out from each high school. American Legion is the best kids from each city or base each area. Sorry. So, for example,
So you sorry, like Algoma, for instance, not just Sault Ste. Marie. For it would be for us, right? When it's say
we don't have
area.
Canadian Legion
No,
baseball,
but
but if
that's
we did, that's what it would
okay.
be. So tomorrow we play the EUP Wood Ducks, which stands for the Eastern Upper Peninsula. That's guys
What's a
from
wood duck?
it's a duck. That's I don't know. I don't know.
I just wanted to stump you. That's
I
all.
don't know.
Last day, I'm gonna get you, Michael. So
So it's basically kids from Sioux, Michigan, Rudyard, Pickford, any of those small towns put together. And you know what? They combined for a really good team. We didn't beat them last year. And I think there's only a couple of American Legion teams that we did beat last year. So, you know what? Teams like they can say that they're from a city. So, like Gladwin's Legion team, but they take kids from other small cities too. And they're all the best kids. So that's how a lot of the American Legion teams end up being really good.
and then that goes back comparing Sault Ste. Marie to Algoma, right? In Michigan, you have Gladwin, for instance, but Gladwin's not that big, so you're using the
10,000
surrounding.
people they have.
So you're using the surrounding area for that, right?
The only region team I know of that was all from their city was Mount Pleasant, and they went 3-0 last year. So, and I think they only have 25, 30,000 people, so they must have a lot of good baseball athletes within their city.
So we'll talk a little bit about Sioux Minor football. Like say this past yesterday. One thing I have to say, I went to a Steeler game the other night, and we'll talk about the Steelers. But the city did put new lights in at the Rocky DiPietro, and that it was amazing. Like you say, it was like you're a daytime, so it was nice to see. But for Sioux Minor football, the Buckeyes beat the Black Knights by 1 point in the Adam division. So that must have been, it doesn't matter what age group, an entertaining game. I know it was 64-63, but
That is wow. 64, 63. Does defense exist at that young age? Oh my
and Adam, and I'm guessing Tony might correct me on this when he joins us, but I think Adam would probably be about 8 or 9 year olds. So that was probably a lot of running there.
yeah,
So
I sure think so.
and then in the Pee Wee division, Steelers, Packers. Well, look at the names right there. Steelers 139-0 over the Packers. So it might reflect the NFL names alone. Then you got the Falcons beating the Raiders 14-13. Bantam divisions, Cougars 16-16. So that's a tie.
Why would you have a football game end in a tie? What 16, 15-year-old kid wants to go out there, work their ass off, and finish in a tie?
And that's true, and that's something again. We'll ask Tony. Might be time restraints because by the time you get to Bantam division, like I was talking to Chantel Boucher, who helps volunteer with Sioux Minor, they finish around 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. So that might
Start
be,
the game earlier.
but they do start at 10 o'clock in the morning for the whole day. So that's probably, it might be why. And then the Lions, ooh, they beat the Vikings 8-0. So that doesn't reflect an NFL score
No,
when it comes to
no,
those two teams. And Tony might not like that when he joins or
I
listens
don't
back,
need
but
it.
no. One thing I really want to talk about, and I get involved, I do their social media here at True House Media, but Laird Raceway is doing an Enduro 100 on June 23rd, 24th. Um, I know you and Tony say racing's not a sport, but the thing is, and that's something we're going to discuss in the coming weeks or months while you join us for the shows. But what it is just average street cars with certain things taking out of it. 100 laps. If I hit you, you just sit there and wait till the race is done. So it's almost like a demolition derby. It's not like the race cars, like the modifieds and
What's your criteria of a sport?
now you really stumped me on that.
Does physical movement is that part of your criteria?
Yes,
It sure is part of mine.
what when it comes to sport, when it comes in, and we'll get more in depth in another show, but when it comes to is mental a lot when it comes to come with sport.
Okay, but puzzles are mental. They're not a sport.
Can you sit in a car for 4 hours and make quick decisions at 60 to 70 miles an hour?
You move your body.
From your waist up, you're doing your feet. You're changing
So
gears every two
you're moving your
seconds.
hands, and it's a sport. there are so many things that you do fixing a car. Okay, you're moving your body, moving around. Okay, it's a lot of mental stuff. It's not a sport. It's a job. Okay.
I have a couple, and this is we didn't have time to come on because it's later in the summer, but I have a couple drivers who've been driving for years come on to rebut this with you and Tony to see how you guys feel on this.
Racing is a combination of a leisure, of entertainment, and of a job, but it's not a sport because it doesn't uh, consist of yourself moving your body and tiring or hurting your body through that physical movement.
Hurting your body when you're sitting in the car for 3 to 4 hours at 125 degrees, that's not affecting your mental and body.
But it's not, you see,
Gentlemen, hold on, I can't hear you. All right, let me try that.
Doan as their assistant GM. You know what? I like this move. Shane Doan's got some NHL experience. Kind of fills in. I mean, I know Jason Spezza wasn't really an assistant GM, but he helped the GM make decisions. So I can see the Shane Doan signing being very useful to Toronto's franchise.
Tony, we have you now.
We're good. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Can't hear him on mine. I can hear him on yours.
So keep on going, Michael.
Okay, so now that Tony's here, we're going to talk a little bit about the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals. Tony, is Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Finals tonight or tomorrow?
I think it's tonight.
So there's
No, Tuesday.
It's tomorrow.
Oh, it is tomorrow. Okay, yeah.
5.
Wearing a pink heat.
I lost you guys again. You guys keep cutting in and out. Can you hear me or not?
You know what? I just didn't feel like I should go back to back. So I like this Miami jersey. Maybe a little comeback for my boy Jimmy Butler, who I loved on the Bulls. And I'm upset they traded him. But it is what it is. And he's selling really good in Miami right now. So maybe they can pull off a comeback. You know. In terms of the Stanley Cup Finals, though, I definitely think that Vegas can close it out tomorrow. Florida's just not that good. They're a fraud. They're down 3-1. They're not coming back. I don't want them to win another game. I don't think they're going to win another game. So go Vegas.
Sorry, Tony, before to interrupt, this is Michael's last day at co-op here at Sioux Sports.
Yeah.
So
Okay, so a couple things. So first of all, I think if any team can come back, it's Florida. I don't think Miami can do it. I think that Jokic is just too good, and Jamal Murray has just come out of nowhere. Well, in my mind, he's come out of nowhere because I never really heard of him before this season. But he is an absolute stud. I love Denver. I think they're going to walk all over Miami.
I don't think that the Panthers can come back.
If
Miami.
any team can, I don't think they can either, but I think if anyone can, it would be them. I mean, listen.
I think they're more likely than the Heat, but I don't
Yeah.
think either of them are going to.
Yeah. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with everything, man. It's you know what, for it not being the most popular teams, I feel like we've been treated to some outstanding hockey and some great basketball. I've been watching it all, and I just love it.
Even after your $500 bet on the Warriors didn't hit?
Well, you win some, you lose some.
Tony, we talked a little bit of local sports first. Were you at the game where the Buckeyes beat the Black Knights 64-63?
No.
No? So it was a high scoring game in Adam. Now, is there a reason why
Oh,
in
sorry, Sioux Minor football. I was like, what the heck are you talking about? Yes. Okay, yes, I was.
Okay. Now, question, Michael. Michael had a little bit of a rant. Why does a Bantam game end in a tie?
So the reason for that is strictly due to they don't end in ties in the playoffs, obviously, but one due to field restraints, and second of all, Sioux Minor football, winning is not the be all end all, right? In Sioux
It's
Minor
about learning,
football,
right?
yeah, we're a developmental league. We want to develop kids. Who really cares who wins? If a regular season bantam game ends in a tie, you know, or week 2 of the season, right? We'll worry about that down the road. But that's the reason for it. It's just, I agree, overtime would be fun, but just due to constraints. I mean, honestly, Mike, we're at the field from 12 o'clock on Sundays until the last game's at 8, so till 10 o'clock. And by the time that the days are done, you're pretty happy. You don't really want to be there too much later. So it also does it for the volunteers. That's the other reason. Yeah.
I got a question. In a game that's 64-63, was there even like a second down, or did they
Yeah.
just score every first down
It
they
was
had?
pretty much all scoring. I mean, at that league and that level, they put all their studs on offense usually, and you start to see that now. But what's ironic is so that's what happened in the lowest division. Our Bantam game last night, the 2 Bantam games, the first one ended in the 16-16 tie, and then our game ended 8-0. So it's like, it's a tale of two cities, right? You end up putting more of your players as they get older on D, and then they start to like it more. So, yeah.
So we're talking. You and Scott McPherson called the games. We had over almost 2,000 views on the 2 SaberCat games this past weekend that we did stream for the SaberCats. In the junior game, 34-28, come behind victory for the junior SaberCats. Nathan Gazzetti, who's a Cora prospect, plays for Cora Colts, 329 yards.
He's gone.
He
I'm
dropped
here.
again.
I'm
Oh,
here.
sorry.
I'm here. I can hear you guys. I'm just checking something quick. Yeah,
No
I can
problem.
hear you guys. Yeah.
329 yards in that game. Talk a little bit about Gazzetti's game Saturday.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to Baz. I was giving Baz a bit of a hard time, the head coach of the JV SaberCats, or the co-coach. Baz in another local radio or a local media site said that it was due to the high quality coaching or something we have some high quality coaches for the SaberCats and blah 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 blah. And I was like, I messaged them because the joke even around the Steelers game was it wasn't necessarily the high quality coaching. What won you the game was 33 carries for 339 yards and 3 touchdowns. That's what won you guys the game, right? Nathan Gazzetti is an absolute stud, right?
And he's not at 100%.
339 yards? Or
330, what was it 332 or 336 or something?
329.
Sorry?
329.
Yeah, 329 yards.
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, he was just an absolute monster. Their O-line played great. The defense was amazing in the second half. Some good adjustments at halftime by the defense for sure. But, man, with Gazzetti in that lineup, I don't know who's going to beat that team. But you take Gazzetti out of that lineup, and you kind of have to start asking some questions, right?
Exactly. And we'll move on to the varsity game. 43-8 over the, and I had to say that it was Sudbury Spartans junior varsity, and also the Steelers. But 43-8, we had 5 different players score touchdowns in that game. And talk a little bit about that game, Tony. You called it, and a little bit about Maddie Tucker and anybody else you want to add.
Yeah, so about that game, what I found interesting was, first of all, props to the kids. I'm glad they got to play football, right? They only had one exhibition game. They had 2 games that were already canceled this year. So good for them to getting out to play. Matty Tucker, I talked to his dad at the Steelers game, and Matty was pretty hard on himself for the 3 interceptions. and didn't think he played that well. But again, what I loved about Matty Tucker was I love how he has progressed as a quarterback, right? His footwork is significantly better. He's actually a mobile quarterback with a great arm. I really liked his mobility in that game, the way he was kind of able to move around in the pocket and things like that. So, people are going to look at the 3 interceptions and think he played bad. I don't think he played that bad,
No.
at all. I mean, I thought, he did what he had to do for that team, which was good. He ended up getting the win, which was amazing. But I mean, we can't talk enough about, just the whole skill right on that team. I mean, that defense, the Dickinsons were unbelievable. I think they both had interceptions. Monero's a junior, but their offensive line was an absolute tank. Their D line is just unbelievable. Really happy for them. Good showing by the seniors, by the varsity Sabercats. And man, I can't wait to watch them throughout this season. They're going to be a tough team to beat.
And they're on the road for the next 3 weeks, so we don't see them until July 8th back home when we stream again.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's great. Hopefully they come back with a 4-0 or the 3-0 record from the road, and we're calling their game when they're sitting there 4-0.
So, and the Steelers, Tony did stats. I learned that Tony knows how to at least count to 10. So we're fine there. But Steelers won in a football game 10-1. Talk a little bit your point of view from the Steelers, Tony.
10-1 in a football
against
game.
Sudbury.
Yeah. I tell you what, every time I watch this, there's a reason why I don't, I haven't gone to many Steelers games over the years. And I find every time I go to a Steelers game, I'm motivated to drop 50 pounds and suit up next season, man. Like, I just want to get out there again.
Brandon Lewis was back out there.
Oh, I know. So that's what I was going to say. Dan LeDuc celebrated his 47th or 48th birthday.
47th.
His 47th birthday playing football against his hometown Sudbury team.
How do you score 1 point in football, like Canadian football?
A rouge. You punt it through the end zone.
Punted through the end zone. That's what it does.
So you know what? Awesome job by the Steelers. Watching Brandon Lewis play out there. Making tackles all over the field still. Rob Majors, a lot of the older guys. Luke Tannehagen, like, good for them, man. Like, Castleman's out there. Really proud of those guys. Nice to see. Steve Heima made his return after a torn MCL. He ran hard. Alonzo Clark, had a great game. Just really fun to watch.
Just quarterback.
Yeah, Yost. And I just really think, right, if you want to get out on a Saturday night and have some good entertainment for cheap, I mean, get out to a Steelers game. And Jay, you were there. Just your thoughts on the field and the lights.
Well, thoughts on the field, and that's what we talked about when we first started the show about. It was nice to see from a city's point of view. Like, and I'm not trying to shit on the city. I haven't seen it that bright. I've been here since 1991.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it that bright since 1991.
Yeah, it was beautiful. So really well done. So glad that the city did that, and I'm going to keep pushing for it. Bring all football there, all high school games. All Sabercats.
Is that when they turf the field, Tony?
I like grass, man. I love grass, so I prefer it. I don't like the turf, so.
And during the Steeler game, like say at halftime, Brad Jourdain was inducted into the NFC Hall of Fame.
Yep.
1972, played in the inaugural season. Actually scored the first touchdown for the Steelers.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see them, another Siouxite being inducted to a Hall of Fame.
Yeah, good for him. Props to him. He deserves it. Great referee too. So congratulations to Brad. Absolutely. And
then I'm throwing you under the bus there a little bit. Is Brad going to be still a top referee when you're head coach for the St. Mary's Knights junior team?
I actually like Brad as a ref a lot, so he is actually one of the better refs. So yeah, I like him, and hopefully he sticks with it. Absolutely.
And one other thing I want to add is Michael is graduating from St. Mary's again in this June, but for the first time in St. Mary's history, and a girls team from Sault Ste. Marie High School, they brought home a AA OFSA silver medal. So it was a huge accomplishment for the Knights also.
Yeah.
That's huge. Yeah, well done.
So question I have, and we talked a little bit about national sports and that, should Phil Kessel be dressed during these playoffs for the Knights?
Let me tell you, I know that you guys probably haven't seen this guy on TikTok. very popular hockey TikToker who makes a lot of stuff about Phil Kessel, and I am just loving watching them. So as long as Phil Kessel's not dressed, I get some hockey enjoyment on TikTok. So I hope they don't dress him.
Tony?
Yeah, you know what? Can't start a guy just because he's a guy, right? So whatever they decide, I don't know, man. I have no on it. So
Did you watch Game 4, Tony? Did you get to see Game 4, Tony?
I think he's frozen.
Can you hear us? Sorry. No, I think he's
crap.
Okay, well, I got 3 things left to say about national sports. So you guys are finishing this up, or figuring this out. I'll finish this up. Back to the NHL. Damon Severson has been traded from the Devils to Columbus. Another puzzling Columbus move because in the deal it was a sign and trade. They signed him for 8 years at $6 million a year. This guy's already 28. He's an average defenseman at best. Why are you paying him like $6 million a year over a course of 8 years? You have him until he's 36. It's crazy. What is Columbus doing? I don't understand at all. Back over to the NFL. Colts kick returner, and I think he's a wide receiver as well. Isaiah Rodgers Sr. has been, well, there's an investigation on him. He will likely be banned from the NFL for severe gambling problems. He gambled on the Colts as well as other NFL games. And Calvin Ridley, who didn't even bet on his own team, was suspended a year. So I can only imagine what the punishment's going to be for the Colts kick returner. But it's just a terrible situation.
question I have, Mike. I follow NFL a little bit,
Yeah.
but now when and I'm just using it would be your team Seattle, Tony's is Detroit, and there's players from Detroit who are suspended, stuff like that. Now their hotels are classified as part of the facility.
I didn't know that.
Should that be?
No.
Because if you after a game or say you play a Monday night football game, so and you don't play the next weekend or whatever else, but you're in the hotel with your team and you bet on a game, should that be classified as gambling in the NFL?
No, it shouldn't. I mean, it's not a team facility. It's not like the Lion. Like let's say we're talking about the Lions. It's not the Lions stadium. It's not the Lions locker room. It's not in that training facility. It's a hotel. They should definitely be allowed if they want to. I'm not promoting gambling, but I'm just saying they shouldn't be fined or suspended for that.
Tony, your thoughts?
Nice to hear you defend Jameson Williams for that. So I agree.
I didn't know it was in a hotel.
Yeah,
hotels classified as part of the facility now when it comes to the gambling part.
I thought it was in the actual training facility. I didn't know it was in a hotel.
Yeah, so I mean, my thoughts on it are pretty well known. The rules are the rules. He should have known the rules. If he didn't know the rules, now he does. But you're right. This NFL thing's a bit ridiculous with the gambling. So I agree.
Calvin Ridley, not Calvin Ridley. I mean, Jameson Williams. He really reminds me of Fernando Tatis Jr. in the MLB. Yeah. He's a really young guy. He's got a lot of talent, but he just makes stupid decisions, and he doesn't have someone to mentor him yet. But he could have someone.
It's a great analogy. Machado. Yeah.
Tatis has Machado, and Jameson Williams has Calvin Johnson.
So Tony, last thing I was asking you before we lost you, did you get to watch Game 4 of the NHL playoffs?
Yeah, I watched.
Now, what about the end of the game? The scuffles. Should Tkachuk be suspended for that stick around the neck?
Tkachuk took things way too far. Like I've never been his biggest fan, but I think that he crossed the line. There is a line, and the refs are going to let a lot of that go. I agree, though. I feel like he crossed the line, right? Two-handing guys in the back of the legs. And we're not talking little jabs. We're talking like actual two hands to the back of the legs, spearing guys left, right, and center. He should have known better, and he should be punished for that, in my opinion.
Okay, well, to conclude the national sports show today, John Moran's suspension could be released as early as tomorrow if Denver wins. Obviously, they wanted to wait till the NBA Finals was done before they announced it. Tony, how long do you think it's going to be?
I think a year. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I think he should be gone for a year. I really do. They need to set a barrier here. They need to set a guideline. This kid needs help. Obviously, he has some bad people around him. I just, if everything that was allegedly said about that incident is true, then I think he needs to be gone for the year. I'd love to hear what you guys think, though.
Do you think that either of the guns used were toys?
No.
I'll be honest, one of them looked really small to be an actual gun, but I'm not a gun expert. Ja Morant's childhood friend is obviously in trouble. He's a problem. Ja recently unfollowed him on Twitter, which is a good sign that shows that maybe he finally understands that his childhood friend is not a good influence for him at the level that he's currently at. I think his suspension will be around 55 games. Don't think it's going to be a full season because just for an athlete as big as Morant, I don't think that's healthy for the NBA.
But how can you,
discipline-wise.
sorry, Michael, how can you say, oh, because he's who he is, should be a certain suspension? In my,
I'm talking about realistically what I think the NBA will do to bring in the most money.
I agree, but to me, it should be every player should be the same across the board if it comes to.
Unfortunately, it's a market, it's a business, and that's just not how they like to do it.
So
I'm sure they'd have no problem giving Isaiah Rogers a lifetime ban. And if John Moran did that, they'd only give him a couple of years probably.
And that's something, again, we'll talk. And again, we know that Michael is finishing his co-op today. And again, I can't thank him enough, but he is going to be keeping joining us every Monday for the show and for him and Tony to bicker back and forth. And I think Tony will, you there, Tony?
Yeah, sorry, I'm having some issues. Can I just say something before we sign off?
Yep.
Before I have any more problems. All right, Mike, listen, bud. I know you kind of came into this not really knowing what to expect, and I know we threw a lot at you. I feel like you fit in absolutely perfectly. I mean, for me being a 40-year-old guy debating, an 18-year-old. Are you 18 yet? Even
17.
17-year-old about a lot of this stuff. I love the fact that you're confident enough in yourself to fight back. I love that you have the personality that you're willing to kind of say what you think and say what you mean. I have a lot of respect for you. I really appreciate what you've done and kind of what you've brought to Sioux Sports. You have an unbelievably bright future ahead of you in this field, and I hope you look back one day and remember us small timers. Like I say, I tell everyone, you're gonna be on TSN one day, and I hope you look back and remember us small timers when you're tearing it up on the national stage. So thank you for everything you've done for us. I hope we can continue this going forward. Best of luck, and you will always have our support. So thanks for everything.
Thank you so much, Tony. You know I'll continue with the Around the North Sports Show going into college and into the summer because I just love doing it each and every week.
That's
Well,
great.
thank you, guys, and